Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Douglas Planning Board meeting of February 12th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted by Local Access Program and with remote participation available as provided on our agenda. Is there anyone here recording tonight's meeting? Seeing as none, I hereby call the meeting to order. Time is 7:04 p.m. Members in attendance are Jacob Schultzberg,
Meg Schlesman.
Mike DeRose.
Rich Preston.
Jake Addick.
Mike Greco.
Mike Zwicker.
and Aaron Sokrat and Ernie Marks are excused absence. Hopefully we can fix that. All right.
Sarah, is Zoom usually muted?
Yes.
Recording in progress.
It's just coming through my laptop for some reason. My sound's off. So I don't understand that.
We'll march on and hopefully fix it. A&Rs, 43 Perry Street, possible votes. Anyone here to present for 43 Perry Street?
Good evening, Raouf Mankaris with Alpha Omega Engineering.
Hi, how are you?
Right.
Good, thanks.
Just a brief rundown of what we're looking at.
Sure, we actually proposing to create an A&R plan to create parcel A from the existing land of 43 Perry Street. The two houses will be sharing, will have a shared driveway. The existing driveway will be used by both houses, so we don't need to cross the wetland to do another driveway. The wetland line was approved by conservation, and the plan you have in your hands meets all the zoning requirements.
Okay. Mr. Benoit?
So through our A&R handbook, I don't know how to get this echo to stop. It's my volume's off. I don't understand.
Is it coming through one of the other TVs?
Right, my speakers are off. So,
Mute your.
check. Anyway, so adequacy to the access to the buildable lot. Proposed building lot does not have accessibility from the way to the buildable portion of the lot. There's a reason it can be denied, right? Does not have accessibility from the way to the buildable portion of the lot. We're talking about like winding, snaking lots that don't have access through the size of the frontage of the lot. That's all we're talking about, size. I'm talking about wetlands, okay? Cannot be denied if the buildable portion of the lot is connected to the frontage by a strip that is equal to or wider than the required frontage. This is a rectangle, so it meets that requirement. Okay. As for wetlands, if wetlands prevent practical, safe, and efficient access, an A&R can be denied. However, an A&R cannot be denied simply because wetland approval. Now, they're showing an easement for a common driveway on this. But we have to consider access from the actual frontage as an option when we're considering the A&R. Now, it's not like it's a deep canyon where he has to build a bridge. This is just a low-laying wetland, and I can pull that up on the screen. Seems like an echo stuff. Maybe because I closed my laptop. I got it dropped. Let's try that. Sorry, anyway, I'm gonna share my screen. of like a canyon. This is like a low-lying wetland. There's some grade after that, but we're talking about access from the front, right? The A&R kind of carves a lot off here. If they wanted to file a wetland application, they could. That's my opinion. So I don't think there's a physical barrier that prevents them from approving the A&R.
So in reality, they could go through the front if they really wanted to, but they decided to go through the side.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So I had to go through a lot of this because it's certainly an interesting one, but based on these requirements, they certainly can try to do that if they wanted to, but submit a notice of intent for a driveway. So I don't see that as a reason that we can deny the A&R. So our recommendation is to endorse the A&R.
Okay. Board, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing as none, I'll entertain a motion to endorse the A&R for 43 Perry Street.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Mr. Zwicker, second by Mr. Greco. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A&R passes unanimous. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll get that signed and we'll be in touch with you to come pick it up, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, so this is where it gets a little confusing. We had a conflict of time starting a public hearing and workshop. So with that, we're going to open our public hearing for proposed amendments to the rules and regs. We're going to take any public comment first and then table our discussion till after the workshop. So we're just going to open the hearing, take any public comment, and then talk about it later on. So, 7 PM public hearing, proposed amendments to the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land, possible votes. Entertain a motion to waive the reading of the notice.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
Made by Mrs. Wicker, second by Mr. Schlesman. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Public hearing is now open. Mr. Benoit, if you can just give us a quick rundown for
Yeah, so
What,
the
we
planning
have.
board looks to updated subdivision regulations. We've added a few things in. We obviously have a workshop here, so at this time, we're just asking if anyone is here for the public hearing that wishes to comment on the subdivision regulations.
anyone in the audience or online for subdivision regulations. Seeing as none, we'll table this discussion.
Take a motion to recess the discussion till later.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, made by Mrs. Zwicker, second by Mr. Preston. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Workshop.
Additional business, A, Hazard Mitigation Plan Public Workshop. I don't know what's easier, if Craig, if you want to come up. And Kelly, I know you're on the flyer.
Unless you need to see the screen.
Do you want me to use this microphone or sit here?
Yeah.
Just want to kind of look at the audience as well, because these folks are,
Sit right there.
okay,
Yeah,
Sit
bring
right
the
over
chair
there.
right over here.
Yeah, come sit right there.
okay, perfect.
Fine.
Make yourself at home.
Come on. It was just working. Why am I having problems now? Stay. No. Okay.
Nobody breathe.
Good to go.
Kelly, once it gets going, just introduce yourself for the,
Yeah, going, yeah.
just for those who might not know who you are.
Did you lock yourself out?
You're up on that screen
Oh,
up
yeah.
there behind you, man.
Oh, it was.
Just shared it and.
You're up there.
Back.
Maybe you lost the connection on the,
What's
No?
going on, but this is a little, I just want to do a slideshow. Now I'm looking at this screen instead of my own monitor, which is kind of stupid. Okay, I guess we're not using this today.
We're just firing on all cylinders tonight.
All right.
it's gone.
Screen sharing? Okay. Gone.
It's gone.
Let's pull it back up.
All right.
That's just not going to be on. Sorry about that, everybody. Just a nightmare.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Kelly Manning. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief and Emergency Management Director here in town. I would first like to thank the Planning Board for allowing us to be present and kind of crash your meeting here. Naturally, the fire department's been going out all night. So I want to thank you for allowing us to be present at your meeting for our first public workshop of our hazard mitigation plan. I'd also like to thank our various town departments, community stakeholders, and the public that were able to come out tonight and take some time out of your busy schedule. It's truly your expertise regarding our community and the natural hazards that affect it that will contribute to getting the most accurate information for this plan. So we look forward to chatting about this and working through the process. I'd like to introduce next Craig Pereira, who is the consultant from Horsley Witten that's been working on this project with myself and various other department heads from town. He's going to help guide us through the update of the hazard mitigation plan and lead the public workshop. So without further ado.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Craig Pereira. I'm a senior planner with the Horsley Witten Group. I am the project manager for the Town of Douglas Hazard Mitigation Plan Update. We are currently updating the 2017 Hazard Mitigation Plan. So right now, your plan is out of compliance. Once we have the plan in place and approved by MEMA and then by FEMA, and it gets adopted by the community, the community will be able to apply for federal funding should there be a disaster declared in the town or in the state. And a hazard mitigation plan has a 5-year planning horizon. So once FEMA approves the plan pending adoption and the plan gets actually adopted, from that point forward for 5 years, the town is in compliance and can apply for federal funding to implement the various actions that will come at the end of this process. And you'll be able to get some funding to make some improvements in the community towards whatever it is that we decide to put in those mitigation actions. Can we just jump back a little bit, Matt?
Yep,
We're
sorry.
kind of...
Changing my mouse.
That's okay. So
There you go.
So this is tonight's agenda, just planning overview. Federal and state guidance has changed, so I just wanted to make a comment about that. Hazard mitigation process, the hazard index for the 2025 hazard mitigation plan update, the 2017 plan report card, and then the project schedule. Next slide, please. This is our local hazard mitigation committee. It's typically comprised of municipal department chairs. And as Kelly mentioned, she has been my primary point of contact since the beginning of the project. Next slide. So why hazard mitigation planning? The Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 states that all communities must have an approved multiple hazards mitigation plan in place in order to qualify for federal disaster mitigation grants. FEMA defines hazard mitigation as a reduction or elimination of long-term risk to life, property, and the environment. And a natural hazard is considered any event or physical condition that has the potential to cause fatalities, injuries, property damage, infrastructure damage, agricultural loss, damage to the environment, interruptions of business, or other types of harm and/or loss. Next slide, please. So federal and state guidance. So federal, FEMA has a new local mitigation planning policy guide that became effective in 2023. It now requires that when communities update their hazard mitigation plan, that they address climate change, that they make a concerted effort to include environmental justice or socially vulnerable populations in that hazard mitigation planning process. There's a new high hazard potential dam program, which is a separate pot of funding that communities can apply for as long as you're in compliance with that specific element of the plan. And then there's also new hazards. So there's changes to groundwater is a new hazard that we have to look at. And there are invasive species, which is a new hazard that we also need to look at. The state also has a new state hazard mitigation plan, the Resilient Mass Plan 2023 Massachusetts State Hazard Mitigation and Climate Adaptation Plan. The Town of Douglas Hazard Mitigation Plan is required to be in alignment and in compliance with the state hazard mitigation plan. So everything that is included in that, we have to evaluate as well for the Town of Douglas. There's also the 2022 Massachusetts Climate Change Assessment. There's a statewide report as well as the regional report. Next slide. So the Resilient Mass, the state hazard mitigation plan looks at the exposure and vulnerability of state assets, human populations, lifelines, critical facilities, economic activity, natural resources, and other infrastructure and resources across 5 separate sectors: human, governance, infrastructure, natural environment, and economy. Next slide, please. The 2022 Massachusetts Climate Change Assessment statewide report looks at those 5 different sectors based on 3 separate factors. So how large of a climate effect is expected? Will populations and environmental justice areas be disproportionately affected? And is there enough being currently done to adapt to this impact of climate change? The regional report subdivides the state into 7 climate regions, summarizing the highest urgency climate impacts across those 5 sectors. So Douglas falls within the yellow zone here, the central region, and the central region is particularly vulnerable to increasing temperatures and more extreme precipitation. So the specific impacts across those 5 different sectors, the human sector, we anticipate a reduction in food safety and security due to production and supply chain issues, as well as spoilage during power outages, health and cognitive effects from extreme heat, including premature death and learning loss. Infrastructure sector has damage to electrical transmission and distribution infrastructure, loss of urban tree cover due to heat, drought, and increased pests. And then the natural environment sector, freshwater ecosystem degradation due to warming waters, drought, and increased runoff. And then forest health degradation from warming temperatures, changing precipitation, increasing wildfire frequency, and increasing pest occurrences. Governance sector, there's increasing costs of responding to climate migration. So it could be the short-term or long-term displacement of people from other locations into the community. It could be increase in demand for state and municipal government services, including emergency response, food assistance, and state-sponsored health care. And then across the economic sector, a reduced ability to work, particularly outdoor workers during extreme heat, as well as commute delays due to damaged infrastructure, decrease in agricultural productivity as crop yields are impacted by precipitation patterns, extreme weather, pests, and other climate factors. So the mitigation process has 4 different components to it: assessing risks, establishing goals, identifying projects and actions, and then updating and maintaining the plan. So just to speak to assessing risks first. Next slide, please. So natural hazards affecting Douglas. So as I mentioned earlier, the Town of Douglas Hazard Mitigation Plan update has to be in alignment and in compliance with the state hazard mitigation plan. So we have to look at all of the hazards that the state plan looks at. Unless they do not have a significant impact based on the frequency or severity. So even though the state plan looks at tsunamis, we're not necessarily going to look at a tsunami here in Douglas. So we just need to call that out in the plan. But for the majority of the hazards that are included in the state plan, we need to take a look at as well, and we need to develop hazard profiles for those. So we're going to be looking at, these are the hazards that actually affect Douglas. Flood-related hazards, riverine and flash flooding, inland urban flooding and heavy rain, dam failure, beaver activity, wind-related hazards, blizzards, heavy snow, nor'easters, ice storms, and extreme cold. Wind-related hazards, hurricanes, tropical storms, tornadoes, high winds, lightning, thunderstorms, and hail. Also looking at geologic-related hazards, earthquakes, looking at extreme heat hazards, drought hazards, brush fire, wildfire-related hazards, environmental-related hazards. So we're going to be looking at, as I mentioned, invasive species, and particularly aquatic plant invasive species. We're looking at vector-borne hazards and changes in groundwater. The one thing about climate change, so we are required to assess the impacts and the projections for future climate change impacts. So because climate change varies across the different hazards and the different pieces of infrastructure and assets within the community, each of the hazards that we profile will have a separate section, you know, like a standardized section titled Climate Change Impacts On. So climate change impacts on flooding, on dam failure, on extreme heat, and things like that. So it's not going to have just one kind of like concrete section. It's going to be climate change will be woven in between throughout the entire plan. Next slide. So one of our first steps with the Hazard Mitigation Committee, we've met twice so far now. At our first meeting, we reviewed all these hazards, and we utilized, NOAA has a severe events database that they track significant weather events. They don't necessarily track everything, so that's why we have that local hazard mitigation committee, because we need to have the committee and the people from the community weigh in on their personal experiences with these hazards over time. So it's a combination of looking at that severe events database that tracks certain hazards, and then also the input from the committee. So we evaluated all the hazards that I just mentioned, and these are our hazard index rankings or scores. So riverine and flash flooding is moderate, as well as urban flooding and heavy rain. Dam failures are considered low. Beaver activity is considered moderate. Winter-related hazards, blizzard, snow, nor'easters, high. Ice storms are high. Extreme cold is moderate. Wind-related hazards, hurricanes, tropical storms, tornadoes are both moderate. High winds are high, and lightning and thunderstorms and hail are both moderate. Next slide. Again, looking at geologic-related hazards, earthquakes are considered low for Douglas. Extreme heat hazards considered moderate. Drought-related hazards, moderate. Brush fire and wildfire considered high. Environmental-related hazards, so invasive species, considered a low hazard for Douglas. Vector-borne, moderate hazard. And changes in groundwater-related hazards are considered low for Douglas. Next slide. So this is our hazard index, and I apologize that you can't really see this all that well, but this PowerPoint, I will provide it to Kelly, and hopefully we can post it on the project webpage. So this takes a look at all those different hazards, and the way that we rank them is we look at the frequency, location, severity, and then we have our 2024, which should be 2025 hazard index. So all the hazards are on the left-hand side. The hazards that are in blue come from your Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Project, which is considered like an abbreviated hazard mitigation plan. So it's a one-day snapshot of looking at the hazards, a hazard mitigation plan. So from that plan, inland urban flooding, heavy rain, snow blizzards, winter storms, nor'easters, high winds, drought, and brush fire were all identified as high. On the far right side, the items in red are the scores from your 2017 plan, and then the scores next to them on the right-hand side are your scores this time around for 2025. Next slide, please. So part of the risk assessment is also looking at the various assets that are located throughout the community as well. So we'll be looking at and evaluating economic assets, businesses and large employers, historic assets. We'll also be looking at social assets such as vulnerable populations, cultural locations, natural resources, lifeline and utility systems, wetlands, conservation and recreation lands. And we'll also be looking at essential buildings and critical facilities. So part of this process is to develop a series of maps that we'll be looking at we'll be taking the town's parcel data layer, overlaying that with the FEMA flood zone data layer, various different hazard scenarios. We'll also be updating a critical facilities and vulnerable populations GIS data set, and we'll be doing an overlay analysis with those as well. So we'll be able to see, based on those different hazard scenarios, what critical facilities and what vulnerable populations will be impacted by which hazards. Next slide, please. So the next step is to establish goals for the hazard mitigation plan. Next step, slide. So we have already revisited the goals and the mission statement at our second meeting for the Hazard Mitigation Committee. So we developed the mission statement for the 2025 update. Douglas's population and land use are changing, and climate risks are growing. In that context, the mission of the Douglas Hazard Mitigation Plan is to plan effectively to reduce risks and protect the whole community. We've also developed a number of overarching goals, and these are just intended to be broad brush and not to be detailed and specific. The mitigation strategy, which comes at the end of this process, is where all the details really come into play. So these are intended to be overarching goals. So protect the public's health, safety, and welfare, minimize social distress and economic losses and business disruptions from hazards, reduce property damage caused by natural hazards and their downstream impacts, including dam failure, provide an ongoing forum for the education and awareness of natural hazard mitigation issues, programs, policies, projects, and resources, adapt to and mitigate for the existing and projected impacts of climate change towards a suitable, resilient community, and to protect the community's assets, including the town's cultural, historical, natural, and environmental assets from hazards. The third step is to identify projects and actions. So towards the end of our project, we will start to develop those actions that we will like to see included into the hazard mitigation plan update. As part of that process, we need to sort of put these different actions into these different categories. We want to make sure that the hazard mitigation plan is a living, useful document. We don't want to update it and have it sit on a shelf for 5 years and then come back together and never look at it again. So you really should look at it as the hazard mitigation plan is not going to accomplish anything concrete in and of itself. It really should be looked at as a roadmap for future efforts that the town is hoping to undertake over the next 5 years. So we'll have actions that fall into these different categories: planning and prevention, property protection, natural resource protection, structural projects, emergency services, and public education and awareness. So FEMA also requires that once we identify these actions, we have to have a brief description of them. We have to have the responsible party, proposed time frame for completion, potential funding mechanisms. And the way that we're going to find or identify and develop these actions come from several different areas. So your existing plan that we're updating has a number of actions that I'm going to go over in a couple of minutes. Some of them were completed and can be removed. Some of them were partially completed, so pieces need to be carried forward. And then some of them were not completed and they're still relevant, so they get carried forward. So that's the first point where they come from. The second place that they come from is part of our process internally for my team is to review all the plan studies and reports that the town has completed since 2017. And we review those, we provide a summary report in the plan update, and we take any hazard mitigation actions that are applicable from those plan studies and reports and carry those forward into this plan. The next part of where the actions come from are from the GIS analysis study that I mentioned that we will be doing, where we're going to overlay parcel data layer, critical facilities, and vulnerable populations data. Anything that is impacted by these different hazard scenarios, we will develop hazard mitigation actions for them. We will also be completing some interviews with local stakeholders and bringing that input in, and then also these opportunities at these public workshops, if people have specific items they want us to consider and bring forward, is the last place that we will get these actions from. Next slide, please. So once we do have those actions, FEMA requires that we go through a Stapley prioritization process. So it's considered an abbreviated cost-benefit analysis. We need to look at the costs and the benefits of all these different actions that we're going to be looking at, and we need to weigh the costs and benefits from those. We need to do that across 7 different categories. Social is the action socially acceptable. Technical is the action technically feasible and provide appropriate levels of protection. Administrative, does the town have the capability to complete the action? Political, will the community support or oppose the action? Legal, does the town have the legal authority to complete the action? Economic, is it cost effective? And environmental, does it have impacts on the natural environment? Finally, the last part of our process is implementation, updating, and maintaining the plan. We actually have to state in the plan update how the town plans to maintain, revise, and update the plan over that 5-year planning horizon. That's another requirement of MEMA and FEMA. Again, looking at the town's capability, plan adoption, incorporation of other municipal documents, annual review and meeting, and then updating after a disaster or your 5-year planning horizon. It's important that part of that capability assessment section that I mentioned, where we look at your existing plan studies and reports and carry those actions into this plan. It's also important that as you update your other municipal planning documents, and I know that the town's in the process of updating your master plan, so as the master plan gets updated and the hazard mitigation plan gets updated, we want to make sure that any hazard actions that show up in your master plan are also showing up in your hazard mitigation plan. Similarly, anything that's in the hazard mitigation plan should show up in your master plan as well. If you end up updating an open space and recreation plan, you end up updating zoning regulations, we're going to want to make sure that there's consistency across the municipal documents. It matters. It matters when there's a funding opportunity and the town is seeking federal funding to implement one or many of your actions, that you can show that these actions have been vetted across multiple demographics and multiple platforms because they're showing up in all of your different plans. It shows that you are serious about moving forward on implementing some of these items, and it also shows that you've done a comprehensive review of all the work. Next slide, please. So 2017 plan report card, this is typically the focus of this first public workshop because we want to make sure that we are letting you all know what the town's been working on since 2017, letting you know what's been accomplished, and then this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is the beginning of your 2025 mitigation strategy. So under structural and infrastructure, tree trimming and tree wire installation needed across the town to protect utility wires, partially completed, so half of the areas have been done, so the other half will get carried forward. Identify, resolve issues causing flooding on Wallace Street on the west side of Whiten Reservoir, not completed, carried forward. Identify, resolve issues causing flooding on Wallace Street near stream between Whiten Reservoir and Bad Luck Lake. Not completed, carried forward. Identify, resolve issues causing flooding on Walnut Street, 100-year flood zone. Not completed, carried forward. Identify, resolve issues causing flooding on Charles Street. And I also want to mention that there are a lot of actions that are similar or like in nature that when we finalize this plan update and we have that final set of recommendations, we're going to consolidate a lot of these things so that they're not specific individual action items. So we might have a roadway flooding action where we're going to include all these different roadways and we're going to identify what the issue is, what the potential solution is. So it's not going to be so disjointed this time around. So Charles Street flooding, not completed, carry forward. Identify, resolve issues causing flooding on North Street, Gilboa Street, completed. Obtain a 60 kilowatt generator for the water booster station at 102 Main Street, not completed. That'll be carried forward. Obtain portable generator for the water pump station at 29 West Street for chemical feed and monitoring equipment purposes, and also the sewer pump station. That was partially completed. The pump station's complete. We're going to carry forward the chemical feed and monitoring needed for the backup into the 2025 update. The town should investigate the cause of losing pressure in hydrants and back system up to ensure adequate firefighting capabilities, so that was partially completed. Specific locations were done. We'll carry forward other specific locations. Establishing a private ham radio frequency to communicate available resources, evacuation, and other pertinent information to residents quickly and effectively, not completed. That will be carried forward. Moving on to the preparedness, coordination, and response category. As Douglas is at the end of the National Grid's electric distribution system, it takes longer to restore power, so looking to create a plan to distribute water to residents in the event of prolonged power outage. That was completed. Continue to participate in the NFIP, or the National Flood Insurance Program, or other training offered by the state or FEMA that addresses flood hazard planning and management. That was completed. Investigate the community rating system, benefits and requirements, and decide whether to participate. That was not completed and is scheduled to be carried forward. The community rating system is a program under the National Flood Insurance Program. And what it does is, once the town is enrolled in the CRS, the town, anybody who has a flood insurance policy within the town, if the town is part of the CRS, is eligible for a discount on their annual flood insurance premium. I don't think, even though we said that we're going to carry this forward, I don't really think it's realistic to do that. You only have 6 flood insurance policies in the town of Douglas. So it's sort of cost prohibitive to even consider participating in that. Usually, you know, I've worked in Situate, Massachusetts, which has like the most number of flood insurance policies, and the town of Douglas doesn't even have any repetitive flood loss property, so I don't see it as a realistic action. We can certainly keep it in, but I don't think that we're going to. Road information, coordination, and planning for snow removal, not completed, to be carried forward. Updating the stormwater drainage standards for site plan review, development impact statements, and subdivision control regulations, that was completed. Well, we'll take another look at that. The committee has informed me of what's been completed and not completed. So evacuation plan updates, not completed, and we plan to remove this. Most communities do not map or regulate evacuation planning or evacuation routes anymore, because it should remain fluid based on the type of event, the time of the event, the severity of the event. So a lot of communities are trying to keep that as more of a fluid piece and not have it be so static. Next slide. Maintain fire access roads in Douglas Forest and isolated areas, not completed, to be carried forward. Education and awareness. So this is where I was, at the beginning of these actions, I was mentioning there's some things that are sort of disjointed, and so we're going to take a look at consolidating some of this stuff so that it's not so drawn out. But under education and awareness, providing information to residents and businesses on severe snowstorms, ice storms, nor'easters, severe storms, thunderstorms, all different types of hazards that we mentioned, that's considered completed. Next slide. Provide information to residents and businesses on droughts, water conservation through low-impact landscaping. Again, all the different hazard profiles that we will be looking at. That was not completed, will be carried forward into 2025. And again, these other actions that just speak to informing residents of the various different hazards, it's really probably going to be consolidated into a mitigation action that really looks at your website and possibly updating the town's website and providing that information on your website rather than having a mitigation action associated with it. So it's really, it could be creating pamphlets, it could be developing flyers, like a trifold handout that's available in town hall or local businesses. But we certainly wouldn't be, we're going to consolidate that in a more succinct way where it's not like just listing off all the different types of hazards. Next slide, please. Local plans and regulations, so use the Massachusetts Drought Management Plan as a template for towns, for the town's own drought plan, and integrate the state's recommendations and actions according to the town's needs. So not completed, that'll be carried forward in the 2025 update. Next slide, please. Review and update local plans and development review processes, planning, zoning, stormwater management, conservation, to ensure new construction will not be affected by hazards. That was not completed and will be carried forward. So that is something also that is another effort on our part internally. So I've worked with Matt to get a list of development projects since 2017 that have either, I needed the list of residential and commercial development projects. I need to know what the status of them are. I need to know, like, if it's a subdivision, how many residential units, are there any that are affordable? If it's a commercial development, I need to understand the square footage and the floor plan for that. So that, and then I also need to know the map and lot, because we have to actually take that information, we have to put it into our GIS mapping system that we're developing, and make sure that the town is approving and developing outside of the hazard areas. So that's one of those ways that we get to that. And then monitor the implementation of hazard mitigation plan. That's completed, and we're in the process of updating that today. Next slide, please. So our draft update is for public comment. We're hoping for summer of 2025. We're about halfway through the process right now. Getting this workshop under our belt is a positive move to get things completed. We have 2 more committee meetings that we have to have. We have 1 more final public workshop. We're hoping to have a draft update to MEMA in the fall of 2025. So what happens at the end when we have our draft plan in place? The local hazard mitigation committee is required to review that. Municipal officials are then required to review and approve that. And then we have to have a public comment period, which is a requirement of MEMA and FEMA. That can be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Once we have that public comment period, during that public comment period, we'll have that second and final public workshop. That way, if people don't have the opportunity to review the plan beforehand, they can come to the public workshop, they can hear about it, they'll still have some time to go home and look at the plan, get information, provide feedback to us. And then once we have the public comment period ended, I will present all the comments that come in, I will present that to the committee that I'm working with. They'll be the ones who determine what we modify and what we don't modify. We will submit the plan, the draft plan, to MEMA with a document called the Plan Review Tool. It's essentially considered a cheat sheet for MEMA and FEMA to identify. We have to identify where all the required elements are located by section and page number in the plan. MEMA will review and hopefully approve that. They have a 45 to 60-day queue to do that. Once that passes MEMA review, it'll get sent to FEMA. FEMA also has a 45 to 60-day queue as well. And then once FEMA approves the plan pending adoption, Kelly will get a letter saying that that is so, that it's APA. And then the town has 1 year from that point to formally adopt the plan through resolution. So we'll come back, we'll do a presentation at a public hearing, and we'll ask the town to formally adopt the plan by signing that resolution. Once that plan gets adopted, from that date forward, you have 5 years, and your plan is now in compliance. And should there be a federally declared disaster within that 5-year period, the town is eligible to apply for funding to implement some of the actions that are in your plan. Next slide, please. So we have a community survey open right now. That's the survey link. That's the QR code for it. It's also on the project webpage under the planning webpage. We have about 40 responses now, which is pretty good considering, sometimes it ranges. It depends if there's a hot button issue in town. But 41, I'll take 41. It'd be great to have 75 or more. But please visit the project website. The webpage, take the survey, send it out to your family and friends and your colleagues, and that's one way that we can get the community's input, especially if, we don't have community members participating on the actual committee that don't represent a municipal department. So it'd be great to hear what folks say that who are taxpayers in the community, who are residents or business owners. Next, I think that might be it. That's Kelly's contact information. My contact information is also available on the project webpage as well. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you want to do an interview, you want to provide information to me, I'm available to take that. I do have a map here. If anyone's interested in marking up a map, we can go off to the side and we can mark that map up. Public workshops are a great way for us to get local knowledge. So if your neighborhood floods, if your property floods and you're not located in a FEMA designated flood zone, it would be good to know that. It could be a clogged culvert or a blocked culvert or undersized piping or uneven pavement that's causing ponding. So please feel free to stay afterwards and mark up a map with us. I do have I know that this is being recorded so I can get the attendance online, but I do have a sign-in sheet that I have to have people sign in because I had to provide that to FEMA in the, as one of the appendices. So I will pass that around and ask people to sign that for me. Does anybody have any questions while I'm here?
There's a hand up online.
Hey, Craig,
Yes.
once the plan is completed and accepted,
Yes.
you don't touch it for another 5 years? You leave it alone? Is it a work in progress?
So no, once the plan is developed and is adopted by the community, it's in compliance for 5 years. The town and the local hazard mitigation committee, and whether that's Kelly or somebody else, should be meeting on an annual basis to revisit the hazard mitigation plan. So looking at what's been accomplished in that last year, does anything need to be added to it? Because if say something significant happens in the community, there's new flooding or whatever happens, you're going to want to make sure that the plan is updated and not sit back and wait for that 5-year mark. So you can update your once your plan is in place and is compliant with FEMA, you can update your plan by simply just modifying the content, the text in that plan. You don't have to go through the whole planning process. You don't have to have a committee. You don't have to have public workshops. You can just provide content, language in your plan and send that to MEMA, send that to FEMA, and then your plan can be updated along that 5-year period.
The reason I ask is because I work at Haywood Landing.
Yes.
Apartments down the street, and we're just in the early stages now. We got a nonprofit partner and applying for grants to remove the 2 dams, the one on Cook Street and the one right behind our building. And that's certainly, if that comes to fruition, and we're looking at hopefully starting that 3 years from now, that's going to reduce the issue of having the dams breach and have flooding. So
yes,
that be in the...
Yeah, so that is going to be in this plan update. So Kelly got me the feasibility study for the dam removal.
Yeah.
So I have that already.
Good.
That's going to be, so we do a really robust dam failure section of the hazard mitigation plan. Both of those dams are significant hazard dams, so they don't necessarily qualify for the high hazard potential dam funding mechanism that's new since 2023.
Yeah.
But we can include it, we will be including it in the plan write-up, and it could possibly be something that you could seek funding for funding assistance for that. And I would love to give you my business card and so that I can interview you after tonight.
Well, I'd like to put you in touch with the engineering company, Christopher Wool.
Yeah, and I used to work with Chris, so I know him well,
Really?
yes.
Okay. So
He used to work at Horsley
for
Witten.
you guys to compare notes.
Yep.
He's in deep now.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Corey, I just want to go to the online
Sure.
hand raise.
So someone has a question online?
Yep. Hi. I was wondering if this is from our original plan is from 2017. That means it expired in 2022, right?
Yes.
So that means that we can't currently apply for funding, is that correct?
You cannot apply for federal funding. You can still apply, you're still eligible for public assistance funding.
Okay, that should light a fire under some people
Hopefully.
to help move it forward,
Sure.
hopefully.
Ma'am, can we just get your name and address for the record? We just don't see it on, we don't know who we're talking to.
Oh, yeah, sorry. My name is Marcy LeBlanc. I'm at 42 Southwest Main Street.
Okay, thank you. And did you have a follow-up question? Sorry.
My second question is, there was a mention of subdivision planning, and Douglas has gone through a significant amount of change in the last 3 years. Is part of that planning and part of the consideration moving forward looking at hazard response preparedness or the ability to be able to respond?
So that would really fall, the part that I mentioned about subdivision planning is really focused on development trends. So we need to identify in the hazard mitigation plan update where the town has and plans to develop or redevelop residentially and commercially. And then we need to, the only thing that we do is to make sure that the town is moving forward and staying outside of the hazard areas when they do approve subdivision plans or development plans for commercial development. As far as the municipal operations, that will really come into play from the committee, but also when we do a review of the comprehensive emergency management plan for the town, which is part of that capability assessment review that we do, where we will identify if there are improvements that need to happen or revisions. We will identify that, and those will become mitigation actions as well.
Okay, can we be fined for anything if it's found that it, like?
No. A hazard mitigation plan, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, a hazard mitigation plan will not accomplish anything concrete or tangible, but it will provide the roadmap to future funding and future resiliency. So even, if we come up with 45 new actions for the hazard mitigation plan and it gets adopted and it's in place, it doesn't hold the town responsible to accomplish any of them. You should look at it as more of like a giant wish list, should there be funding available. So it's all the things that, it's like really high-ticket items that the town wouldn't necessarily be able to afford, by putting money into a capital improvements plan or anything like that, so that you can partner. And I should also mention that typically federal grants have a 75-25 cost share, so it's 75% is the cash that comes from the federal government with a 25% match. Sometimes, I believe in this case as well, with the hazard mitigation plan update process, it can be a soft match, so it's just in-kind services. But most times, it's the 25% match is a hard match as cash.
Okay, interesting, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wish I could have been there in person, sorry.
We'll do it again. You can come next time.
Yay.
All right.
Any other questions?
I had a question.
Yes.
Just curious if other towns are in the same boat. Or
Yeah, could I just get, sorry, it's still the planning board meeting, so I just need name and address for our minute taker too.
Yeah.
From both,
I signed them.
For the minutes taker, she's not here.
Willis Drew,
okay,
311 South Street.
okay, thank you, Willis.
I'm sorry, what was your question again?
I was just curious if other towns are going through the same process.
So, yeah, it all depends. It depends on, I'm working with 8 other communities in Massachusetts right now who are developing their hazard mitigation plan update. It's all different levels. So I'm working in New Bedford. It's a much bigger undertaking with a much bigger budget. But, cities and towns are encouraged all the time to provide, and the town got a grant to complete this process. So this is not it's not costing the town financial, It's in-kind services is the match, so it's municipal personnel coming to meetings, answering my emails, answering my calls, providing data to me. So it really depends, but there's, FEMA's making a concerted effort to get communities to all, especially in light of, we've all been experiencing heavy precipitation trends. We've all been experiencing extended droughts, extreme heat in the summers. So things are happening, and the more that the town can be ahead of the curve and have a plan in place and be eligible for funding, the better off the town's going to be. The mitigation actions, if the mitigation action is not in your plan, you won't be able to apply for funding for it. So it's, it's a great opportunity for the town to really move forward and to really try to be more resilient moving into the future with all the different climate change projections that are happening. Anyone else?
I have one quick one.
Yes.
Mike Swicker, Planning Board. We're a third of the town is state forest.
Yes.
We're writing this all up for the town. How is it that any of this can be implemented with the state forest, or is the state completely out of this, all that land? How does this all intertwine in this whole venture?
So
in the state and the town?
it's intertwined because part of the forest is in Douglas. So Douglas, the town of Douglas and its residents and its taxpayers are impacted. So it may not be, when we develop mitigation actions, it may not be something that says the town of Douglas will do this because you have ownership over it, but it might be the town of Douglas will partner with the state or will advocate to the state for certain things. So that's where it comes into play. Same thing, when we were doing, I've been working on the dam failure section and have come across, there's dams, there are other dams that are upstream that have significant impacts to the town of Douglas if they fail. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to include that in our dam failure profile, and we will develop mitigation actions, but it will be something like the town of Douglas will coordinate or partner with the town of Sutton to look, wherever those dams, whoever owns those structures. So we'll make sure that the towns, even though it's not a publicly owned asset, if it's privately owned or owned by another community, but it impacts the community, we'll take a look at that and we'll make sure that those actions are included.
Because I'll follow, I see I had written down like fire access roads and all that.
Yes.
But it's the state land. The
Right.
state's responsible for all that, not
Right.
the town of Douglas.
Right, and again, like I mentioned, it's going to be a coordination effort. Like when we do the profile for that, for wildfires and brush fires, we'll identify all the assets that are in the community, we'll identify the assets that are vulnerable and at risk, and then from there, we'll develop those mitigation actions that speak to those profiles.
I have a question.
Yes, Richard.
Rich Preston, Planning Board. Once the process is completed, you mentioned that it has to be approved by the town. I'm just curious, who approves this? Is it selectmen, town meeting, both?
So once we have a draft plan in place and we have the local hazard mitigation committee has first review of that to make sure that I've presented everything properly, then municipal officials will have the opportunity to review it and approve it. And not, at that point, you don't adopt it or you don't vote on it because it has to go to MEMA and it has to go to FEMA. And then once it comes back from FEMA, approved pending adoption, it'll be a town council, city municipal officials presentation, and the town will adopt it at that point.
Town meeting?
Yeah, we don't have city council here.
Okay. Okay.
Town meeting.
Town meeting.
Yep.
Or Board of Selectmen.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
Questions, comments?
Whoever brought this forward to spur renewing these efforts, thank you. And thank you for taking the time today and for keeping us informed
Sure.
and safe.
Thank you.
All right, so next steps or timetable, what do we
So we'll be having 2 more committee meetings. We have some outstanding data needs from committee meeting 2 that I need to follow up on. We still need to complete the mapping and overlay analyses. And then we have our second and final public workshop. So we're, like I mentioned earlier, the schedule, we're hopefully going to have a draft plan available for public comment by summer. And then hopefully have that shortly thereafter, we'll be able to have a draft plan that goes to MEMA for review.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the time today at your meeting. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sign sheet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have this.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Is there another room that's open that we could have Craig talk to? Yeah. See, I'll give him a second to see if there's out.
Fire department? You want to recess for a few minutes?
Yeah. It seems like,
Good seeing you, Ken.
seems like it's clearing out enough. Kelly's good. All right. All right, so we're going to open back up the conversation for proposed amendments to the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land. Possible votes.
Motion to come out of recess?
Motion to come out of recess.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Preston, second by Mr. Schlesman. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So, we'll pull up our subdivision regs. Get this to work correctly. There we go. Okay, so you don't have subdivision regs. I said they weren't going to be printed out. You just have the ones that were provided to you previously, and to make the edits that were sent digitally. I have them up on the, no, not on the screen yet, but they will be in a second.
Was the packet you sent in the email with all the updates?
Yes.
Okay.
Share screen. Which one is it? This one. Okay. So the edits that we're proposing, obviously we have to change the date on the front, right? It's for February. I'll just go page to page.
Matt, can you just refresh? These are our own rules and regs,
Yep,
right?
this is
So
the planning board's rules and regulations.
this isn't something that goes to town meeting and
Correct.
gets passed,
It's a
okay?
public hearing for that. One of the first things we're trying to do in our A&Rs, the town council identified as, this was listed in the content section below, and he said this isn't the best spot for it, so I moved it up under presentation. It makes more sense to be there anyway. It's the irregularity factor, so folks cannot create those odd snake-shaped lots any longer. So make for nice clean lots like the one we just saw, 43 Perry Street. If you want, I could run some tests on the equation if you'd like. Might take a little while to do some of the math.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing like a couple examples maybe of like what we have for plots and how it would be different, because
Sure.
I know there is going to be, there's potential, I know people aren't in favor of it, so I just want to see some examples.
Sure. So 16 times the area over the perimeter squared, all right? So let's use this lot that we just did. 247 plus 3, 179 plus 102, 175 plus 105, 105.7, 238, 0.90. 370, 78. Wish I had some of these prepared in advance. That would have been super helpful. 810.18. Okay, so that's perimeter of 2258.97. So we're going to square that. Can't do that on this calculator. I have to use the
Smart calculator.
Yep, can't do it on the phone. It won't let me. So, 2258.97 squared, that's our bottom number. 5102945.46. And the area of the lot is 16 times 182,203. That number is 2915248. Okay. So my two numbers is 5102945.46. This lot on Perry Street comes up to .57, which is over the .4, so it is a conforming lot. If you want, I could do one that is definitely non-conforming. If you'd like.
I'm just curious what my lot would be. 'Cause,
You want to see yours?
yeah,
Okay,
I have a weird shape.
let's do yours. You're over here offset this one, right? It's this one, right? This one here. Oh yeah, yours would definitely be non-conforming.
So that's why I would have an issue with this.
Yeah, so, but this isn't going to apply to anything that pre-exists this bylaw.
Yeah, you'd be grandfathered.
No, I know it would be grandfathered, but, like, we got gifted land from family, and to make our lot work, we just didn't really have to get creative. It's the way that the lot laid out. We made a 2-lot community compound subdivision. I have a great property that, it's off of a long road. It's a beautiful property, and if
Some
this,
people want a long
and this formula would have prohibited me from
Correct.
building my house, I would have an issue with it. Because I know there's a lot of people that would be in that predicament where, you have the frontage on the road, you have a great buildable lot, but if you need the extra 200 feet or something, or that little bit extra, and you have to get creative with it, I'd have a tough time, just making it not a buildable lot, just because you have to get a little creative to get the area you need.
And through the chair, I've seen it a lot of people want to have a back lot. So it'd be like under this thing, a non-conforming lot, but yet you want the long driveway because you want to be up on the back side. You don't want to be out on the road.
Because this would conflict our compound regulation that we have, because we had to do what we had to do to meet the criteria for the compound, and that's just the way that the lot had to be laid out. So
If I may through the chair, I think just for the finite amount of land in town that is developable at this point, to start disqualifying potential lots that meet the requirements already, it just doesn't seem conducive for growth of the town.
And my question, Matt, would be A&Rs. If an A&R came in, we can't dictate what they do with their lot layout, right? Because as long as they have the frontage and it meets the requirements.
Sorry, I'm still adding up your.
Yeah.
I think this falls under yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd my calculator go? 3807.91 squared. area of your lot is. Sorry, this is taking so long. Divided by. Must have mixed something up because yours came out at 2.03. That's not possible. Well, by that rationale, yours would be conforming, oddly enough. So I did my math right, but I'm not sure I did.
'Cause I know it's a weird lot.
So through the chair, Matt, sorry, would this only apply to ANRs and not to subdivisions?
And that's a good question too, like where do we put it? Do we apply it to subdivisions or do we apply it to A&Rs? Good question, not sure. So originally, this is in the zoning bylaw in Auburn for hammerhead lots. They had a flag lot where you could have 50 feet of frontage and build in the backland. This zoning bylaw. So where we put it in the subdivision control is up in the air. I'm not really sure where you guys want to put it, if at all. Maybe it becomes a zoning bylaw for reduced frontage lots. That's in the zoning bylaw. Maybe we put it there. I don't know. It's completely,
But it might be easier to accomplish this in a subdivision than to handcuff people who own single lots that really don't have any other option if the lot is already
Pre-existing.
pre-existing.
You have no other land to add to it or change it
Right.
around. You're stuck with it, now you're saying you can't build on it.
Right,
But yet, last week you could,
yeah.
Well, what about the grandfathering, though?
but
I just think it's getting,
how would that apply when you go for your building permit if it's a non-buildable lot?
If you're trying to create a lot, in the A&R scenario, I don't know how you tell somebody they can't, if it meets all the other criteria, how they can't have a lot.
that's true. And the A&Rs are only looking at frontage anyway. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a fan of it, just, it seems too confusing, and I don't know, I don't think we have some funky shaped lots, but I don't think it's an issue. It's what people have had to do to make a lot buildable, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've seen other examples where, a couple houses, they do that funky shape. You have a couple houses in a row that are great, and they have that nice buffer behind their house where it's just kind of, it's woods and open space, and everyone kind of owns it, but, if a developer wants to shape a land and plot that land, and the owner wants to buy a funky land, it's on them to stake it out, but, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it.
On the, to the chair, on the A&R stuff, on the layout and on the contents, should we put in there requirement for 7 signature lines?
Yeah,
I think it's in there.
At all.
Oh.
that could be on there as well. Yeah.
Should be, because not only that, we were trying to make it where the signature lines at one time when Bill was around, some of us remember, trying to put it in one area so everything would be folded,
Yeah.
signed, and not have to be laid out. We actually requested a certain area for it to be put, to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah. Get that on here. Contents. 7 signature lines.
Because we have had some come in with only 5 lines.
Yeah,
You know-
I keep having to make people adjust that.
Correct. So I think it should be put in there. must have a minimum of 7 lines, signature lines, and your date line. Then also on,
Where do you want this located?
should be one of the first things, because that's one of the main things that can be on it. Signatures.
No, where do you want the signature square located on the plan?
Well, how is it with the layout? I don't have one in front of me.
We got one here.
Upper right
So where
corner?
do they, yeah, where do they
Just
used to
like the
put it so
right-
you could have
right
it folded?
They put it in,
Well, we used to have it folded up, a stack of them, we could, used to pass them around and you could stamp it.
Or maybe not specifically say what corner or what side, but consistency, the lines be consistent on the plan, you know, in one area of each sheet.
Yeah, that means they're gonna put them right in the middle sometimes, and that's,
Right.
we get that, and that's,
And that's what happened,
And,
that's
yeah.
what I'm, you need, hate to say, you have to put them black and white.
Yeah.
Because they'll read between the lines. So take them,
Seems like,
fold it up, wherever that might be, Matt.
seems like they mostly come on the right side.
Yeah,
yeah,
like top right corner?
right side.
is there a standard to folding them?
Upper top right-hand corner or whatever.
Because if it's there and you don't fold it right,
We probably have to put that in there, too.
I think most of the ones I've stamped, it's been on the right. That seems like the most of the time it's on that right, so that'd be fine with just the
Yeah,
right
it
side.
must have a minimum of seven signature lines on the right side of the plans. Right. However we fold it.
Yeah.
I can't put it in the upper right, that's where the registry corner is, it's usually right under that anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then on number 7, line 11, whether yes or no, you're talking about existing structures, bounds, walls. What about DHs?
What's that?
You drilled holes.
Where are you, Mike?
On the same thing, A&Rs, on page 5, top line, number 11. Stuff that he wants on the A&R. DHs should also be included in anything,
Every one of my pages in this says page 18.
because they are, it is a legal means of a boundary mark, a DH.
Boundary lines, bearing distance to permanent monuments and drill holes.
Oh, you're on number 7?
Is that what you're saying?
I'm on number 11.
Oh, 11.
Page 5.
Structures, bounds.
So you're saying it twice?
I'm just trying to figure out where you want it. It's-
Either, I mean,
Mine's, it says page 18.
Between 7.
I was thinking on number 11 because you're talking about marks. Things are marking on the A&R, right?
Yeah, so
Or,
that's supposed to be one section. There's 2 permanent bound monuments, and those can be drill holes. I mean, that's kind of where you want to put it here, right? These are the 2 permanent monuments that they have to reference on the plan. Anything existing, you saying just put those under existing, or?
then why do you have it on the other, why do you have it on number 11 too? You're saying the same thing all over again.
I'm talking about, what's, I guess,
What's that- what's
they're really
that all
looking for
about?
walls and stuff. You know, they gotta show like existing stone
What are you
walls.
talking about, monuments,
Yeah,
bounds,
like, yeah.
structures?
Right.
So you're duplicating the same,
Well, this one says they have to show at least 2. They have to show at least 2. And this says whatever else exists, you put it there.
either or.
Yeah.
I'm just trying
Whatever's
to,
found in the field, like, they usually just list it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a drill hole or a bound.
I think that says iron pipe.
Right.
I know, I got 2 DHs.
Yeah, they got a few. Drill hole found, drill hole found. Let's just put them right on the plan as that anyway. Because usually they're permanent bounds anyway. I think that one's okay.
So either, I mean, I think it should just be put in there.
Just want to go to the next red, try to go through each one that we have.
Next one's on page page 11. 2 full-size sets of engineered drawings and 22 reduced, and it says 12 by 18. Those need to be 11 by 17. That's just, it's a stupid little thing.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is on, sorry, the next one's on page 14. It's a detention pond that's supposed to be on its own lot. Council made some edits to this. At the end of item 13. Detention, retention, infiltration ponds or basins must be shown on their own parcel of land that could be conveyed to or taken by the town upon acceptance of public way. The project remains as a private subdivision and must be held in a form that allows it to be governed by a homeowners association. It's council's language. And make sure that it covers both public and private developments.
And can you just, how come an easement? We don't want an easement. Or could we do that or an easement?
I think the easements, I mean, anyone who has a property that has a stormwater easement on their property, they're a lot harder to sell when you want to move your property. Like, oh yeah, I have that stormwater easement, the town can come in and clear it out at any time. You have to maintain that, or you get your tax break on it, or whatever. It doesn't make sense. The town has to get permission from someone to access their own easement. Sometimes folks don't even like it, or they don't grant the town permission, and the thing goes crazy. It being on its own parcel means it's deeded to the town, it's the town's responsibility. They don't need permission to clear them out or anything. We're dealing with this at Old Farm. There were 2 in the back, and we needed to, they had lawns, and we had to rip off their lawns just to get equipment in there to clean these things out. It's like,
Do we have an easement or?
yeah, it's an
Yeah.
easement, but it's just, it's kind
Yeah.
of a headache.
And I think, through the chair, moving forward, what it is, it's simple. The contractor comes in, is building a subdivision, he knows he has to dedicate this land to one of the town, period.
Yep.
So you're not gonna include a house line, a house lot, this, that. Somebody plants their yard, puts a swing set there, then all of a sudden next week, hey, we need to get an excavator down there.
Yeah.
And now the guy just spent $5,000 on his yard, now you just go tear it all up.
Well, it's got a
Granted, it's an
irrigation
easement,
system.
the idea is we all know what happens in reality.
Yeah, you don't really.
This way here, it's a chunk of land staked out, the town's done and over, nobody else was, have to worry about it,
I agree.
Yeah.
you know? And it's easy moving forward because it'll be pre-planned into the plan. What's in the past is in the past, but I think moving forward, it's a much cleaner entity on any layout, you know?
Anyone else thoughts on that?
You know, that the town doesn't have to call anybody, say, hey, we're coming in to clean it, or any of that, like they do now.
Move your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're moving it.
you know what I mean?
Whatever you got.
They can, when they have time to do whatever they have to do and not worry about it.
I made through the chair that I do agree with, to Mike's point to a certain extent, but the only conundrum, like you go to build and say you bought this parcel of land, inspected for 11 houses. Now that it's a 10-lot subdivision, you needed that piece of land. You don't have to do so. So I see both sides of it, but you know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
you know, you purchase this for this price and all of a sudden that
Yep.
potential for whatever that home or that building is now gone.
Yep.
You know, for
But then
how often we clean up
Yeah.
the catch basins are and after acceptance. That's my only, and I guess,
I
looking
know.
for guidance at that point.
But I guess if it's in the rules and you're buying the property, then you know it's what
I
you
hear
have to
you.
do, yeah.
Yeah, but that would, if you own a piece and went to develop it next month, a year from now,
Yeah.
you know, and you had slated that mentally, that changes everything. So that's just, not disagreeing, or just an objective.
Or could it be, we do or easement, and then it's up to the board to decide what works better? I don't,
That would be kind of subjective, wouldn't it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Or you getting into a gray area,
that's, that
because you know, everybody's gonna say, with what you just said.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
No,
short.
no,
Why not?
I'm giving that to the town because I want that extra
And it'll
lot.
just always stay a subdivision, never go
Yeah.
for acceptance, and no White House in the running. Or not, on anyway, because you can't approve it that way, but you know what I mean. So,
And through the chair, and a lot of times on that point,
yeah.
a lot of times, the ponds are made in the back, it's the access you need to get into it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I think you could stipulate the easement maybe a little bit, give some flexibility there, that this has to be made clear, et cetera.
Yeah, the
Accessible
easement's
and
not
all
going to
that.
be like a buildable parcel with legal frontage. It's just going to be a strip so they can access it. It's going to wrap around the back or wherever it is.
And that may be
Right.
a non-conforming lot, then you kind of see that.
Yeah, it would be anyway. Most of these things usually are
Yeah.
non-conforming lots anyway. I mean, they could do that through subdivision control. You could put any sort of non-conforming lot in. That's fine.
Into the chair, and we've all been up to, most of us, the Whiteys, where that one is. You're not gonna build there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's at the end of nothing.
That's dedicated town open space as part of their flex development, right? So now it's on its own property anyway.
All right. And then cut fill analysis.
Yeah, I know we don't have like a fill bylaw, but just getting the numbers on the plan so that we can determine how much earth removal was part of this. I think having both figures is important.
Yep.
I mean, we just need to see the numbers. It's really it.
Comes up.
I don't think it's going to make any difference in whether or not it doesn't need a special permit for earth removal if it's a road part of a subdivision. That's not what we're asking for.
Are you gonna put at what volume that starts at? You're gonna do a cut and fill analysis for 2 lots.
No, it's not for lots. The subdivision is for the roadway. And once they release the lots, those are totally different. Subdivision is just for the road.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone needs to do earth removal on their lot after it's released from our covenant. That's a totally
Okay, all right.
And then 19, it just because you had to
Yeah.
add the next line,
Right.
number in line.
Yep.
Okay, so that's not a change, it's just
Right.
numerical change.
Yep.
Elevations, North American datum.
Yeah, I just assume that's going to get updated at some point, so I just put or current,
Yeah.
right? At some point, that's going to get updated.
Yeah, it's tough to reference one book from the 80s.
Right. Then we get to page 17, where it's town engineer. Remove that, planning board agent or other entity designated by the planning board, PG. That's going to be, you'll see that as a theme throughout.
Just changing the,
Yeah. Getting rid of town engineer. And then item 4 is this performance guarantee we talked about with Tom McIntyre when he was here. It's like, shall include a line item for maintenance of the roadway, sidewalks, driveway, apron, stormwater infrastructure, and all utilities until the road is accepted as a public way at town meeting. Or we also have to put something in here about it being a private. No. Be something, and I'll have to have this vetted by council, but it's gonna need something about or subdivision is completed and roadway is entered into a homeowners association.
on that one, Matt, what is blue? Is that,
Blue is council.
okay.
That's his feedback, the red is my stuff. Roadway.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have that vetted by him, naturally. Just want to make sure that we're covering both of those. So we did it earlier with the parcel for the stormwater. We just didn't do it here for performance guarantee.
The only thing, Matt, the link that got sent with the plan doesn't have purple and blue.
Oh, it doesn't.
I only have like some red ones. That's why I was very confused, just
Oh, okay.
keeping up. So I might need like that sent to me
Okay.
and just kind of look over all the changes before
Okay.
I feel comfortable going over it, putting a final stamp on it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we're going to vote on this tonight.
No.
No.
No way. Council stuff is already. Performance guarantee bound by agreement, subject to review, approval of board and town council. Natural legalese from town council.
What's that?
That's under the performance guarantee on
Yeah.
page 17.
So through the chair, we'll get a finalized, comprehensive copy when we're ready to vote on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I got two different versions here. Some on one, some on the other.
Yeah, yeah, they kind of got changed since they went out with the, Jen sent one out and I sent one out after. It's like,
Yeah, so the one I have doesn't have a lot of the changes, so.
okay.
I think we can definitely talk about the highway stuff, because we have the communication from Adam.
We do. This one big one on page, I think this was on page 18, maybe it made its way out to 19. It's having the plan recorded at the registry. It's under decision 4.2.8.
Yep.
Shall be endorsed on the final. That was one of the recommendations you guys made instead of the original drawing, right in the middle of the paragraph. And then at the end, the applicant's responsible for having the endorsed plan recorded at the registry, and I put within 90 days of endorsement, but section 81X calls for definitive plan to be recorded within 6 months. I think we should be more consistent with that and make that 6 months. It gives them a lot of time to record this thing. Right, you should do it immediately, but being consistent with state law, I think we should put 6 months in our regs.
So the state law says they have 6 months?
Yeah.
Does that mean 180 days?
Does.
Okay.
I really wanted it to be less, but. Out after the fact. What else we got? Planning board agent, standard correction there. I want to get into the stuff with the street trees that Highway talked about. Find that. Oh, under streets, 5.1.1, we got rid of the, I added drainage detention, he deleted it because it was redundant. I was like, okay, that's fine. Minimum width, let's get into Adam's text that he gave. Adam and I were talking about this earlier today, and said 24 feet for a road width. This is on section 5.1.2. 21 feet is plenty wide enough, in my opinion. And he waited on 26 because we were throwing it back and forth. The 26 makes it harder to plow and more passes for smaller trucks.
Yeah.
MassDOT's been recommending narrow roadways to keep speeds down. Most of our current roads are 22 to 24 with 11-foot lanes and 1 foot on each side for the shoulder.
I just think 24 is fine.
Yeah, so Adam's okay with the 20.
Reason I'm saying is, a pickup truck with mirrors is 10 feet wide. You have 2 trucks beat, you almost kiss them.
Right,
Or have 2 plows meet.
right?
Yeah, because I know there's a new push for, because we saw it with the Sutton Douglas, but they wanted more narrower roads, and
Well, the reason being is they think everybody's driving a Yugo.
Yeah.
But that's not the case nowadays.
Yeah.
Right.
We're all here with, drive down any street in Douglas, Amazon trucks, FedEx trucks, UPS trucks. Yeah. They're everywhere. Parked- And where do they park?
Right in the right of way.
Right in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Now you gotta try to get around it, and hopefully there isn't somebody on a bicycle, because there's no sidewalks on half the roads. So, guess what? That's why.
yeah,
The idea is you need roads for people to get around it.
yeah. And I think we worked well with that Sutton Douglas and came up with a good compromise, because they were pushing narrower for, and it's also stormwater too.
Yeah.
That, that's why they want smaller roads, and, we came up with a good solution with that, like, the main artery was a little wider, the smaller sub-roads were a little bit narrower, but,
I mean, we're all, if we came through the chair on the master plan, the biggest thing is the roads.
yeah,
The trees are on the roads. Everything is on the road.
yeah.
I mean, you're talking about hazards, this hazard deal. Drive through town. Half the town's a hazard you drive through it, really.
Yeah, I'm fine with the
So,
24, and if a developer wants to ask for a waiver and try to justify why he wants to go smaller, then that's You know, we can still hear it, but,
Yeah.
you know, at least we have a standard of what we're looking for.
Yep. Through the chair, just a minor thing. On mine, I had written in 26. Is that a number we came up with?
We
last-
did.
We're flowing between a couple numbers, I think.
Yeah. I was originally trying to go for 26, but
Yeah.
24. Compromise.
Right, so I'm on page 27, section 5.2, easements. That's where I pulled out the drainage for the easement, because it's later in the, it's for its own parcel now, section 2. And then 5.3, this was one where may require the plan to show parks suitably located for playground or recreation and provide suitable access for public parking. And council added as may be appropriate or necessary. Okay, so that's fine. This is the weirdest thing in here. Board may appropriate endorsed plan and require that no building be erected upon such park or parks without its approval for a period of 3 years. The board shall not require dedication of such recreations without just compensation to the owner. Why do we owe the owner any, like, what do we need to compensate them for if they're gonna build on a park? Like, really? I don't understand that, it doesn't make any sense across the board.
Board shall not require. What page is that?
It's on page 27,
5.3.
5.2. Just so strange. Like, why are we compensating the owner who's going to build on a parcel where there's a park?
That's not the same.
Yeah, I've got a
Page
different
number.
one,
No.
Sorry, it's section 5.3.
section
Oh,
5.
5, okay.
What page, though?
Yeah, 5.3.
27.
Do you ever feel like you're one of those kids in school?
Which, yeah, it's all, no, because
26.
you've made edits, so it makes it longer.
26.
What page are you on?
26 in the original packet.
26.
The board may, but the appropriate endorsement on the plan require that no building be erected on such park without its approval.
He added that in?
It just doesn't, no, it was in our regulations, I'm trying to get rid of it, it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't have it on mine,
I don't have it in mine either.
so I think we get rid of it. And it's not in this
It's not this
printout.
one. It's in the original one.
It's in the originals.
Okay.
I deleted it already. Getting rid of it without your consent. Sorry. Yeah, it's in here, it's redlined out. It's in our approved regs, which is this one. Last updated January 26th.
Can you just read it again? I just have to read on the board with the line going through it. The board,
Shall not require dedication of such recreation areas without just compensation to the owner.
I don't even know how to make sense of that, so.
Oh, yeah,
I
it
have
didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Like if they wanted to dedicate it to name somebody and then they get compensation regarding that dedication?
I don't know.
Did something or made it
Well-
a monument?
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I'm confused by it, so yeah.
Through the chair, when the development on North Street was started, they gave land, I don't know if the town owns the parcel the playground's on, but there's a playground there. And,
Did the town.
yeah, so did the town pay for that land? I don't think so.
I mean, that's a comprehensive permit,
Yeah,
completely separate from this.
I know, but,
Yeah, I don't think so.
yeah,
But that's
I
just
think-
part of the deal.
it wasn't buildable, so they just
Right,
put a playground.
yeah. No, I'm not sure if that's owned by us.
If you had a similar situation where somebody was just doing a development and and it was kind of big, and they wanted to put a playground in, you know, we can't require them to do that. So if they want to put it in, why would the town pay them?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I think that's why, what we're talking
When you
about.
see something like that, it's kind of a non sequitur, you know there's a story behind
Yeah.
it, always.
At some point in time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a town parcel.
we didn't, yeah, I
Okay.
thought so.
Okay. Back to the next. So, Yeah, that just, I didn't understand that one bit. Scroll down. We're gonna get to our underground utilities, we talked about that, underground street lighting. And this is where,
The lighting for the mailbox.
I'm getting there. We're on grass strips and trees right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the section, through the chair.
Section 6.5 and 6.6.
Okay.
So correspondence from Madam Furno is pretty strong.
To get rid of the grass strips.
Yeah.
Go sidewalk right on the street.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what he said.
Yep.
Yeah, I get why the grass strips are put in, because it looks nice when you go down a development, there's grass strips, there's trees going, but then who's maintaining it, and,
Correct.
yeah.
You know, there's,
One neighbor might edge the sidewalk, one neighbor don't care. It
Yeah.
turns into.
And it's our responsibility to maintain it, and some of these developments are getting built and who knows where, and
Yeah.
we just can't get out there to maintain them, so I get the point of it. It does look nice, but it's, needs to be maintained, and just don't think we have the means to do it.
I was traveling in far western Mass this week, and I noticed some of the developments out there that were newer had no grass strips. They had the sidewalk just as Adam's proposing.
Yeah.
It seems to be more common now. And I think
Maybe
the
do that,
trees
make
are
the sidewalk a little bit wider.
the trees are the big issue, like he said. I mean, they start pushing everything up in 5 years.
Yeah, I've gone through a lot of developments where the trees, just like that, the roots are growing up out of the sidewalk, especially
Just go through
asphalt,
stuff.
especially asphalt, but it'll even lift concrete, but asphalt sidewalks do not last at all. And that'd be something I might be curious into maybe changing, is
Through the
not
chair.
allowing asphalt sidewalk.
I would,
Have it be
I would
concrete.
second that.
Me too.
It's supposed to be on both sides, too, the sidewalks.
Yeah.
So getting rid of the grass strip entirely?
So through the chair, if we don't mind, if we do that, something to consider. So when they do plow the roads, where does the snowbank go? Right on the edge of the road. Now all of a sudden you have a 2-foot sidewalk, pretty much gone. So do you go ahead and now remove the grass, but make the sidewalk maybe a little bit wider? So in the wintertime, that people, because there's a lot of people out, we all see them, people are walking every day. So that even if there's a snowbank from the plow, you can still have your sidewalk between the road and where you walk.
If the people even clear the sidewalk.
A lot of people, I'm just saying, people
Yeah.
still, they do. I know by law, you're supposed, if there's a sidewalk in front of your house, you're supposed to have it clear,
Yep.
by law. But it doesn't really get enforced or whatever, and that's fine. But the idea is eliminate that grass strip and make the sidewalk wider.
Well, we are making the road wider.
Yep.
Should we run that by Adam? See what he thinks about
Yeah.
the plowing
He
question?
kind of said, let me say his letter, he said that it should be, I am all over the place, my goodness.
Yeah.
Its recommendation, eliminate the grass strip, put the sidewalk up against the roadway.
Yep.
Second one, recommendation to keep the trees away from the sidewalk and roadway, and if possible, relocate them into the house lots or to another location in the subdivision.
Which is fine.
So requiring trees on a house lot, and that lot gets released, we no longer have any control of that tree. That person can take that tree down the next day.
Correct.
Yeah, it's such a catch-22, because the trees are beautiful to see, but they do create maintenance issues, and
And I know that was always an Ernie thing,
Yeah.
no trees.
And you kind of see in the picture.
And I agree with what it did.
yeah.
Ever since.
People start planting trees, and
Yeah.
they'll fill in, and, or if there's, the best thing is when there's woods like in between each lots. Therefore, it's not like an open field driving down a development, it's still some nature. I like when neighborhoods do that.
So we can revise this. I'm not really sure how to say it just yet, but
I would maybe just get rid of the tree, just not require trees, just if, because how can we require them, but also we don't want them in the roadway, or,
yeah.
maybe a certain feet off the sidewalk? I don't know what would work, but,
I mean, even if they're in the strip or they're right up against the sidewalk on the opposite side, the roots are still going to impact the sidewalk.
So,
They couldn't
and I
park.
totally understand the whole gist of it. So we have a right-of-way.
Yeah.
So why don't we request,
Got a 50-foot right-of-way and a 26-foot wide.
right, so say, I'm just gonna throw a number out there. Any house lot, in a 2-acre lot, you're required to plant 2 trees between, say, 20 feet from the edge of the roadway and the house. Somewhere on the property, you plant 2 trees.
You know, then that person could take,
They can, but I'm just saying, but it, so true. A lot of people might, a lot of people won't.
sometimes the subdivision developer will
Yeah, but
release the lot and then sell the lot and have someone else build it. And they're only responsible for the road. That's what we just had a McIntyre subdivision.
Right.
They built the road
Yeah.
and all those lots are going to be coming in private owners. and stuff.
Or do we just not worry about it?
Yeah, it's like, there's like something indicated.
I don't want it to
Town.
become a responsibility of the town because we have enough issues with trees.
yeah.
You say the tree should be located at the edge of the right-of-way? I mean,
We just don't have any at all.
Yeah,
Outside of the right-of-way.
yeah, then it's on the private lot of the property owner. If it's not on the right-of-way, then we can't control it.
But if it's in the right of way, then is it the town's responsibility?
yeah, we own it, we gotta maintain it, cut it down.
Yep.
Yeah, why wouldn't we want to do that?
Yeah, I think we just kind of scrap the whole tree, and
If
whatever
somebody wants to
happens,
plant a tree, they're gonna plant a
if
tree.
a developer wants to put a tree in, let them put a tree in, or
Yeah.
keep a tree, or,
Just put trees are optional.
yeah.
No closer than 10 feet from the sidewalk.
But I do like, if it's a wooded area, that some of the lots maintain a woods separating each lot.
Through the chair, that's an argument for the larger lots.
Yeah,
But even that's a 50/50 because the condition of the trees, you're building a brand new home, a month later, the tree comes through your roof.
yeah.
I'd rather have
It all depends on where it is.
Nothing around my house. If
Yeah.
I want to put something there, then it's mine. We've all seen it after a building, the tree might look good today, but in a year, they've already destroyed enough of it, it's dead. Now you gotta take them down, or it's in your living room.
Yeah, I think the trees are just optional, and if they want to present a plan with some trees, or if we want to require a tree on a plan, it's all optional, but I don't want to force it.
Well, through the chair, Adam's basic concern is the trees being too close to the sidewalk, causing it to heave. So if we just specified that they can't be closer than X to the sidewalk, to a public sidewalk, then doesn't that cover it?
4 feet. What do you need for sidewalks, 6 feet?
Well, not that, but then the town's responsibility is responsible for the trees.
Because they're in the right-of-way?
24-foot.
Well,
Yeah,
if
they-
they put them there, but
And the right of way
they
is
could put a
designed for
tree in the
utilities.
right-of-way later.
Which you don't want a tree on utilities either.
Right.
'Cause if we're gonna get-
Right of way is designed for utilities. All utilities will be underground.
You start getting
If that
roots
area
growing
has
and-
utilities, they could be in that
Oh, yeah.
right of way. Now you're gonna go plant trees here?
Yeah, I think we just gotta,
I would think of
Discretion of the board.
leaving it out.
Case by case, yeah.
Yeah.
trees are optional, and
Yeah, underground utilities, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
Put
well,
tree
yeah, yeah.
roots right in the
We're
underground
having it
utility.
all underground utilities, so
yeah, they could be in the road, they could be in the sidewalk, they could be off the easement, you never know, but
You know what I'm just gonna put? Trees are optional. Just,
Yeah.
and leave it at that for now, and we'll,
Well, but not within, definitely not within, I don't know, say 5 feet of a sidewalk. Or, some numbers to keep them away from the sidewalk for our maintenance purposes.
Not in the right of way. Because if you stated not in the right of way, you're covering that zone.
not right away, they're not gonna do it.
But if the right of way is, 20 feet into someone's front yard and they want to plant a little cherry tree on their own at some point,
But if the utilities are there because it's the right of way,
We're supposed to call big safe.
No, we'll just roll with that for now. Run it by Adam and council, see what they think.
yeah.
All right, so then we go on to our mailbox.
yeah.
Applicant should provide permanent central mailbox units as part of the project within the right-of-way. Has to be within the right-of-way. And then we added that sort of spec that they used at Joseph Road, or the equivalent. And then we put in the number of units, parking spots, on-street parking, depending on the number of units, 1 to 10, 1, 11 to 22,
Yep.
21 to 33, 30 plus, discretion of the board.
On the LED light
Yeah.
or equivalent approved by highway,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
we don't want something going up that highway department doesn't want to maintain. And/or we're just gonna stay with the one light?
No, that's a good point. Depends on the size.
You got 3 parking spots, you might want 2. So anything maybe on 21 to 30 units?
Probably maybe just proper lighting, or appropriate lighting. At least, well, yeah, at least one light, but yeah, yeah.
Or- Yeah,
Yeah, at least one light.
on the 21 to 30, you could have 2 lights
Right.
and up.
That kind of gives it the planning board's discretion. You put at least one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gives you the 1 and the 2. If you have 3 parking spots, you're gonna need some light,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
They should have streetlights too, so. It's really just to light the mailbox. The streetlights should light the parking, right?
Not many of them have streetlights.
Yeah.
I have a question to the chair. We require a permanent central mailbox. How does that affect individual mailboxes? Can people still have those?
Yeah, they can request
Or
a
are they
waiver of this.
prohibited?
They can request a waiver of this and do individual mailboxes, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's up to the
It's up
postmaster
to
what
the
they want.
postmaster.
Yeah.
Postmaster will dictate whether they want a central or individual.
Okay, thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, all the subdivisions, they want a central. But yeah, if you were on a road and you have an individual lot you buy, you're gonna get a single.
Especially if it's a dead-end road. They just want one right at the front.
I wonder what their criteria is for requiring.
So the
Because we do have
postmaster-
subdivisions that have individual mailboxes in town.
Yeah.
Spring Meadow has individual mailboxes.
Even up by me, a lot of the old,
Downs Road.
like Parker and all that, they go down in by the lake, their mailbox is out by Oak Street. That's from who knows when. They just don't want to get down in those roads.
Any other quick ones? I know we're
The rest
pushing like 9
The
o'clock.
rest of them are all just subbing out the town engineer or planning board agent or other such agent designated by the board. That's the rest of the edits for the entire document.
Yeah, if you could just forward that current,
Sure. It's the working draft.
yep, working draft.
Sure. Is there a motion to continue to the next meeting?
All right, so we're going to do for a motion to continue this public hearing to, when is our next meeting?
February 24th. No, 26th.
To February 26th, 7 PM,
So moved.
Second.
made by Mrs.
Oh, we
Wicker.
have a person on hand with their hand raised.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep, it's me.
hi. Just name and address, just for the record here.
Yeah. Marcy LeBlanc, 42 Southwest Main.
All right, Marcy, what's going on?
Where are these meetings posted? Because I would have loved to have been able to attend, and I only just stumbled upon it because of the other workshop that was happening.
So
They're posted
Yep.
in the Telegram for 2 consecutive weeks leading up to this hearing. They're also posted here at Town Hall on the town clerk's bulletin board. Otherwise, they don't really get out into social media or anything because there's not a statute for us to do that.
Can they be posted on the town website?
they are on the town website. If you go to like the town website and look at the agenda,
Schedule.
yeah, you'd almost have to,
The schedule's right on the.
yeah, you have to like click like the planning board and you kind of just like look at the calendar and see what's coming up, but it's not like necessarily like, there's not like a flyer on top of the page saying that this hearing's going on, but.
Through the chair, you can sign up for automatic emails for any one of the boards in town, pretty much, and you'll get notified of, like, even the sewer commission, you get notified of any meeting that they have with the agenda.
Excellent.
Yeah, it is tricky.
you.
It's, the open meeting law we follow, but it's not, we don't like go above and beyond and like post like a banner downtown or anything like that. So it's just, you gotta just have to keep an eye on it and, sign up for notifications or drop in the town hall and see it online. Or in the Telegram. I don't even know where in the Telegram you see it, but it's in there.
Right.
Great.
Do you have any questions or comments on what we had discussed?
I have a lot of questions about the subdivisions,
Okay.
but it's late and you guys worked so hard, so I'll just try to get my thoughts together and be at the next one.
Yeah, and we're gonna get our thoughts together too. So yeah, we're gonna be at the next one, and it's looking like it's gonna be this 26, 7 PM.
If you'd like to send me an email, I can give you a copy of this and you can provide your comments. We can talk about it outside the meeting if you'd like.
Okay, sure. The email address is this being recorded?
It is.
Do you want to
Okay.
email?
I don't even call
Yeah,
Matt.
go on our town website and look for, on our page, Matthew Benoit.
Yes, please.
That's what I will do. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And the community development department's open, during the week. You can always drop in there and
Yep.
the door's open.
Great. Oh, fabulous. Thanks, everybody.
All right, have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
All right, so there was a motion and a second. It was made by Mrs. Zwicker, second by Mr. Preston. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, so we have a letter from,
Draft annual.
draft annual report.
So we looked at this at our last meeting.
Yep.
And you asked me to add some language about the master plan committee. And I feel like, and I spoke with Mr. Preston about this, I feel like I added everything possible that we've accomplished this year, including the active member, no, I didn't put the members. But if you want, I
You put representatives at least, there's
right, representatives of each department. If Rich is happy with it, I'm happy with it.
That's great, thank you.
All right. Board to make a motion to approve the 2024 annual report.
So moved.
Second?
Made by Mr. DeRosa, second by Ms. Schlesman. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, and we have a heads-up letter from new owner of BV Logistics.
Yep, they're required by law just to let us know that there's new owners, sorry, not by law, but by our decisions. They're recorded, they have to notify us of the new owners, and they gave us their contact information, so that's for our information.
Okay. And who is the new owner? It is,
New owner is Rock Point Group LLC, or Uxbridge Distribution Owner LLC. there's a few different divisions of that.
Perfect. Stormwater bylaw discussion, possible votes.
Okay, so the selectmen are meeting with the stakeholder committee next week to kind of review this draft, but it's obviously good for us to look at it too, because we're going to be the permitting authority here. So if you'd like to go over it, I know we just did one regulation already. If you want to do another one, we can. But let me pull this one up here. I got so many windows open, my God. Oh, boy, there's so many. I still have this presentation open from the PowerPoint. Stakeholder, stormwater bylaw, right here. Okay. Well, these ones are actually in our packets, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to pull it up on the screen. All right.
Yeah.
So the big item here is the map, right? That's really the big piece of this, and that should also, is that also in your packet cycle?
No, but that's fairly viewable up there.
Map is right behind me. The actual approved map doesn't include these outfalls that are located here. Those are taken out, and there's also going to be a new label for this, the white, it's hard to see, but there's a gray area and there's a white area. One's kind of what the EPA regulated as our area, and the rest is the catchment area. So,
And the date.
right, so this just kind of came up today, actually. Let me pull the map up. There's the discrepancy between those areas. Just have the map, there it is. Share the map. So here's the map. You see how there's the white inside and the gray on the outside, and the new label reads it as the regulated stormwater area. Now, if you were to look at the exemptions on page 6, item B, sorry, item A, right above exemptions. Bylaw is applicable to all new development and redevelopment within the stormwater, Town of Douglas regulated stormwater area as shown on the map. That's saying all of the white area, if this map is, so either we change the bylaw to read the MS4 catchment area within the Town of Douglas regulated stormwater area map, or we change this label entirely and call that the urban area, right? This just came up today. So everyone's going to be looking at this saying, what's going on here?
I think, through the chair, the verbiage, the regulated stormwater area
Yeah,
should be changed.
right.
I mean, the stakeholders committee, it's a meeting, actually.
Yeah.
We'll be having our own meeting
Right,
on Tuesday,
right.
Yeah,
consensus.
yeah, I would probably defer to
But-
that committee, because you guys work hard and more, as most knowledgeable on this change, so,
The idea is we only permitting the red area.
yeah.
So I
We
think
just
it
need
needs
that
to
to
get
be
off the
clear.
map, because everybody's going to look at the map.
Yeah, right. So how they label it is super important here.
Okay.
All right.
And you're going to, through the chair, you're going to check to see what he recommends before our meeting?
Yeah, Nick's going to be at the meeting as well. Our consultant's gonna be
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, I already asked him about
Yeah.
this. And he hasn't responded yet because I responded at like 6:30, so. I was like, what happened there and why create all this confusion leading up to town meeting? So that needs to be adjusted. Otherwise, I met with the Conservation Commission on February 3rd or earlier this,
Is that Monday?
yeah, last Monday. Sorry, the previous Monday. And they were a little, I guess, hurt about this not being in their wheelhouse. Not really sure.
May I ask who's hurt?
so far, I mean, we didn't have a full complement. Our chairman wasn't at the meeting, and we were missing another member, so there were only 3 full-time members and 1 alternate member at the meeting.
Is it the members or is it?
Yeah, one of the members.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I think they should be in the conservation jurisdiction. The illicit discharge is in conservation jurisdiction. It's going to be the selectmen's call, one way or the other. All right? So, I mean, I think this should definitely be in the planning board's wheelhouse, as planning board's elected officials. You guys represent the town as opposed to the appointed conservation commission, which could be hand-selected. I'm not sure. I'm not excusing anyone of that, but
Yeah.
that's just the politics of it, right? So, I just wanted to bring that up, but on the definitions,
And the subcommittee wants the planning board.
right,
you know.
they do. So, if anyone had a chance to read or review this and has any questions or comments, I think they really carefully went through this and did a really good job.
Through the chair, the no amendments to that since the last time we received it.
Right.
All right.
Actually, I did make one change. It was on page 6, item 6. It says construction of a single-family dwelling.
Yeah.
It's family twice.
Oh, yeah.
I got rid of that.
Just grammatically.
Family,
Yeah.
family?
Okay.
Yeah, I got rid of that. That's in the latest draft.
Okay.
Spell check did not pick up on that. Neither did council, apparently. So, but otherwise, it's the same draft we had at our last meeting. Aside from updating that one thing about the map and the reference to the map, whether that's changed in the bylaw or whatnot. Does anyone have any questions about this being in our wheelhouse?
And through the chair, like I said, Tuesday, we're actually carrying a full meeting over because we still have to do minutes and everything. So it'll be a full complement. So everybody's supposed to be there, so.
Yeah. And, you know, my biggest thing when this came up is I want to be able to present a bylaw that's going to get passed at town meeting. And I think this is, you know, we have to have it. I think this is the bylaw that's going to do it. So I'm happy with the work everyone put in for it.
We're trying.
Through the chair, I think it's really good. It represents everything we talked about. And I like the simplification of having just one authority, or it keeps it simple for the people that are having to deal with it.
It really trims down the area. I mean, first,
Oh, that
this was a
too.
town-wide thing last spring. We were encapsulating the entire town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to per the federal regulations, so then it was just the white area, and then they shrunk it down to the catchment area.
And as far as the planning board being the, you know, this being in our wheelhouses, you know, we're a 7-member board with 2 alternates. We've never had an issue with a quorum.
Right.
I know the conservation, there was a time where they didn't have enough members at all, and they didn't have quorums, they couldn't have meetings, so.
Yeah.
I think we have a consistent board that's elected, and all our meetings are consistent, and a lot of this stuff's coming to us anyways with site plan and the watershed district, all that, a lot of it's coming to us, and if it triggers a conservation issue, it's gonna go to them too, so it's.
Right. That was kind of one of the questions that they asked. They said, what if this is what, I mean, some of the members were pretty smart about it. They said, what about the areas that are outside our jurisdiction? Why would we want to take that on if it's outside of our jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah,
the areas that are in their jurisdiction, they're going to have to manage stormwater for it anyway.
Yeah, they have their set jurisdiction through the state and through the
Right.
town, and,
Yep.
you know, we have,
Through the chair, if I can, one question that I'd have is everybody okay with putting a date on the map? And understand why there's
And
gonna
that
be a
date may
on the
change. It might be February 2025.
map? Well, yeah, and it'll
Yeah.
be changed instead of
That's a
December.
good point.
But is, through a consensus to pass on to the stakeholders, how does the planning board feel on that aspect?
So when, and I'll.
Yeah, just the
piggyback
history,
off of
yeah.
that. Council, the stakeholders want to do that because they want this to go back to town meeting anytime there's a map change. They want the people to be able to see it again and vote on it if there's a map date change, right? As opposed to it just putting on the most recent version, and then it could be updated by,
Without any town approval.
right, and then the folks wouldn't even know it was updated or anything. So it's best when the map is updated, or if it gets updated, it comes back to town meeting.
And that should be a quick thing at town meeting.
Yeah, council-
To accept the amended map change.
Right, council and our consultant both said, like, that would just bring you back to town meeting. We don't recommend that, but we want it to go back to town meeting.
And the rationale, if I may, through the chair, we did that is, you don't know who the board's gonna be.
Right.
So by doing it now and setting it where there's a date, it protects everybody where a board couldn't be formed and all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna make it the whole town. And just do it, and nobody has a say in it. With the date on the map, that has to go before the community and let the community decide whether they want to change it or they don't.
Right.
And that's the only reason, I look at that as a check and balance. It's one way of making a safety for all the residents of Douglas, is let the residents decide, and not one board decide what's on that map.
And this has been a hot ticket item for many years, and
Right.
people come out for it, so.
And it could still become a hot ticket item, and that's why I think a consensus of the board on having that going forward to the selectmen would mean a lot also, so that they'd understand that the planning board is or is not behind having a date on that map.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So apart from updating the catchment area or the date of the map, which has to be updated because we're fixing the map, does the board want to express support or anything by way of vote, or keep this on our agenda for next meeting? Totally up to you guys.
I suppose just keep, you guys are meeting again, so if there's a crazy change or something,
Yeah,
well, the stakeholders is meeting again, right?
Yeah, but we mean with the selectmen
Okay.
And that's going to be
about
there.
this.
That's the
That's
meeting.
why we'll.
Yeah, it's pretty much the final. Yeah.
If the planning board is okay with the date and stuff.
Yeah, I'd be fine supporting it with the discussed amendments. They're minor amendments, really.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine supporting this document. Anyone else? Maybe just a consensus, or?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I support it.
Yeah, consensus of the planning board supports.
Do you want to do that in the form of a motion?
Yeah. I'll entertain a motion to support the stormwater bylaw as printed with the discussed amendments.
So moved.
All right. Made by Mitch Schlesman, second by Mr. Preston. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good job, Mike.
Yes,
We're trying.
thank you.
It's not, we had a good board.
Yeah.
We have a good board. Worked out well.
Any updates critical for tonight, Matt?
We don't have any updates. We do have someone on Zoom. I don't know if Ms. Charpentier has any comments that she wishes to add to the meeting. I don't know if you want to ask her.
Phyllis?
Yes.
Phyllis, do you have a question or anything? Going once, going twice.
No,
Oh.
I'm all set,
All
thank
right.
you.
Have a good night, Phyllis. Haven't seen you in a while on. Hope all is well.
All right, so, yeah, we don't have updates on anything else yet. Everything's pretty solid frozen, so no one's really building right now. Otherwise, we have minutes. That's pretty much it.
All right. Anyone get a chance to look over the minutes?
I did.
January 15th?
I didn't see anything.
Would
Which one? 15.
January 15 look good on your end, Matt?
Just going over this public hearing piece. And it's close the public hearing. And then site plan. Roll call vote, just make sure that that's all they voted. Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes for Wednesday, January 15th, 2025.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Greco. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have one minor amendment I'm going to add to that. Just, it says Bob, but it doesn't say his last name, Manerick.
Oh, okay.
Just add that. That's,
Everyone knows who Bob is.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, I read right through that.
Okay, January 29th. The only thing I would maybe just change is the first line item. I would just change Adam Furto to like the highway department. Fix it, change the guardrail.
Sure.
Just so it's not, Adam Furno going out and about, just fixing guardrails.
Sure.
I think, I didn't see it on the first one, but I don't know if Teresa's last name's spelled right. But that's just, it's a grammatical.
No, you're right. Yeah, I'll do that. It's T-E, there's no H. And
Yeah, she's
it's-
Madison.
Yeah, it's Matson. Yeah. Okay, I'll get it. 2 T's, Matson.
And I'm reading this, thanks. Going up to the building there, the cube. It is one big shed up there, no doubt
Yeah.
about
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah, in the previous minutes, it's also there.
Okay.
I'll correct that also. The spelling of names is difficult, I get that.
Yeah.
No issue there.
Oh,
Number 9,
yeah. Oh,
that's Oak Street. Well, there's some confusion, because Oak Street got the electrical connection permit.
no,
No, well,
no, it was
Or
one,
was it one?
yeah, not Oak.
No, that was an Oak Street discussion.
It
You're
was.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Because Wallam's been up and running for
Right,
a while.
and because they're the one with the checklist that has, from a letter to the building commissioner, so that is Oak Street, you're right. Oak Street. We also have to
Generating the
mention that Mr. Zwicker recused himself from the conversation and the return of the meeting.
That's right, yeah.
And then Deputy Chief Kelly Manning.
I think we have a lot of edits to do on this one. I don't think we could accept this.
Yeah, if you want to go through it a little bit more.
Because I had to change the site plan review number and everything.
Yeah, so we'll hold off on
Yeah.
January 29th.
On that, number 10, have you heard anything from Douglas Packard?
I did, actually. Yes. Oh, what did I reach out to? Klaus. Emerson. I think I talked to him on the phone. Oh my goodness, I can't remember what he said. There's some permits from the state that they needed to acquire.
Okay,
They're in the process of doing that. They have not abandoned the project.
okay.
They're still looking to pursue it, but they had some hurdles that they had to get through, and they're still working towards doing it.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Is there a deadline for them to break ground?
I don't know if we put one on their decision, I'll have to check.
Okay.
And on that same aspect, what about the Dunkin' Donuts
Oh, that one's definitely done.
That is done?
Yeah, he's not doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. I pulled that one off of our,
That's why I was just curious as far as,
yeah,
I didn't know it was done.
yep. He is no longer pursuing that. That's a shame, but.
Yep, okay.
I do have some updates, not reasonably anticipated, 48 hours notice.
Okay.
We have 10 placeholders on the town meeting warrant. I have so many. They are stormwater bylaw and map. That might be two separate ones, but we'll figure that out. Whiten Heights road acceptance, Joseph Road road acceptance, William Drive road acceptance. There's a Mass Trails grant, which is through the Open Space and Conservation Commission. They're asking for money for that.
But it's not us, that's
No.
your
Right.
community, but yeah.
I'm reading them all off. Conservation Commission budget request for signage at open space parcels. They're asking for money for that. Put sign in some of our open space so people know where they are. Amendment to zoning bylaw, Appendix A, adding multifamilies. We don't have a definition in our bylaw for multifamilies. It's shocking, right? There's nothing in there for it. So at our next meeting, I will have a draft change for us to look at, to recommend to the select board, and then hopefully they ask us to schedule a public hearing, and we'll do it. Goes from us to them, then back
Yeah.
to us, and then back to them. Another amendment to zoning bylaw, section 3.2.2, is use of trailers for storage. Right now, the use of trailers is for it reads non-construction. I'll bring it to the meeting. It's kind of weird. I forget how it goes. Hold on.
I'm just hearing this now, I'm just worried that it's going to be too much new stuff coming at us in a short amount of time.
This just kind of came out today, so it reads, use of trailers for non-construction storage in all districts other than industrial districts. The use of trailers or semi-trailers for non-construction storage shall be prohibited. That's the way it reads in our bylaw right now. What the building commission is recommending is use of trailers for enclosed storage, not just non-construction storage. Enclosed storage, period. That's what he's proposing. He'll probably come to our meeting and talk about it when we talk about it. Maybe it's something we don't recommend, I don't know, but it has to come to us, one way or the other. So that's his recommendation. We'll see what we want to do with it or not, and he'll probably come to our next meeting and talk about it, so.
Yeah, I have no time to research it and look into it to
Right.
really feel comfortable having a hearing right away on it.
Right. The multifamily dwellings, that's kind of been going on for a little while. Like, they're coming up, and there's no way for us to list them in the bylaw when people try to apply for it. We call it a two-family. It's more than a two-family, it's more than that. So we just added it into the appendix, into the use table as multifamily and consistent with the uses for a two-family allowed in those same zones. That's really all we don't have to put a definition for it or anything. It's just a use that's not in there. It's kind of shocking. There's so many multifamilies in town. I don't know why people can't build new ones. It's kind of weird. The other one, we're probably coming, we don't know what's coming right now, but probably an update to the ADU bylaw that we passed in the fall because of the new regulations we got at our last meeting. There's going to be some changes. I did talk to the Attorney General's office today. They are currently reviewing our draft, which is nice to hear. Hopefully we'll have something for our next meeting. Maybe some edits or whatever they're proposing. There's a lot of conversations happening about this ADU bylaw right now. A lot of them. We're trying to determine what we're doing with the pre-existing non-conforming ones that are oversized. Do we have to keep our old bylaw to govern those? Because those can still be governed with the special permit criteria that they have to be family members, because they're not a protected use ADU because they're oversized. That requirement could still be held. Like, there's a lot to talk about with this thing. So, anyway. And then the last one hasn't been discussed with any boards or commissions yet. It's a wild card. Abandoning of public ways. We just had White Court A&Rs, and that is hardly a street. What's going to happen when Winter Street comes up again? That's a public way. Can a fire truck get down there? Like,
That's the only way of it being stopped though right now.
right.
So,
So I put a wild card, abandoned public ways, Winter Street. I don't know if it's going to be any more discussion other than right now. It's just something I have for a possible placeholder. I don't even know the process for abandoning a public way. It's just a conversation that came up because of the White Court. I don't know what we're going to do with it. Winter Street is, it's ruts, and it barely exists.
is there anything
No,
out there?
there's nothing.
It's not, but it is a public way that made it onto our public ways list in 1978. For some reason, we don't even know how. But Louis Tessino got some A&Rs approved on it. And it's shocking that those were ever approved. It's kind of like the Perry Street extension ones, which are totally different. But, yeah, I don't know how that road ever became a public way. That's the one in town that doesn't make any sense to me. It's cart ruts and overgrown grass. You could barely see it when you drive down Walnut Street.
Well, White Court was one too.
Yeah, right? But at least the town kind of maintains it.
Yeah,
Right?
in a way, yeah.
This one, no one touches it. It's an afterthought. You drive by it on Walnut Street, you don't even notice it. Kind of weird, but.
Yeah, that might be some research you do, and then,
I have a question through the chair, if I could.
Maybe it's a fall town meeting thing, I don't know.
yeah, I think you have a lot of research to do.
Yeah.
If you're looking to have a mechanism to abandon these roads, do we have any others out there, any paper roads?
Oh, this
Because I know years ago we were dealing with some, they were paper roads. There was no road out there. They
Yeah,
were laid
there's-
out 150 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that.
Don't ask me to tell you where they are, but I know we were dealing
Was
with
the
them.
one on the Webster line? Yeah. We did.
So it might be worth looking into, see if there's any other roads out there that should be abandoned also.
Yeah, go out, hit them all at once, do good research on them, and just take care of them at one hit.
I think so. It might not be a bad idea. I'm going to show you where Winter Street is for those of you who don't know. Winter Street is off of Wellham Lake Road, go down Walnut Street, and it's on your right before the first bend, and you wouldn't even notice it was there unless
Yeah,
I just
it's
pointed.
right across the street from the Rod and
Yeah.
Gun Club.
Yeah. Wait, no, that White Court you're thinking of. This is
No,
Winter Street.
no, yeah, it's right across the street from the Rod and Gun Club.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't know that. Is it-
that long driveway right there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, so Winter Street connects to Rhode Island at some point to this road, Buxton Road, which is somewhat in Douglas, I guess.
I don't think that's a road either.
Right, but it doesn't exist. The road doesn't exist. So it's just one of those things. I don't know how it became a public way, but it's all laid out on its own parcel because it's a public way. What happens to the ownership of it? How does it dissolve? I'm not sure yet.
It's simple. Middle of the road is split.
Yeah.
If there's two properties, because I own half of Bailey Road.
Yeah.
I go into the center line of the road, which is still there.
Bailey Road. Never heard of it. Is that a paper street?
No, it connected Oak Street to, was it Northwest Main? Was it
If I
shoot
might-
across?
Is that the one that went through Mazinski's property? Because that was
That's Old
abandoned.
Bailey.
It was abandoned at town meeting.
Yeah, that's Old Bailey Road.
Okay.
I go to the middle of it,
Yeah, so there's a way.
on the backside.
All right, I just want to try to wrap this up. We're getting pretty late, so.
Yep, I understand.
Yeah, I think you got some research to figure out and
Yep.
take care of it.
Just wanted to read off what I submitted for the warrant, because I just sent it in, and we didn't have enough time to go over it, so
Okay,
maybe I'll put the warrant articles on our next agenda, just in case we have any other questions.
yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Made by Mrs. Wicker, second by Mr. Gnotic. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.